for all of this anxiety, depression, self doubt, insecurities, self sabotage, procrastination, unwanted habits, and even addiction and phobias. If you want to know what the real cause of all of those are, this video is for you because I am going to spill the beans today. Now, you might not like the information, but it's truthful. And once you know the truth, you can actually do something about it if you want to. Keep in mind, as a hypnotherapist, who people typically come to me as a last resort. That means not only have I worked with tons and tons and tons of people, helping them solve the problem. Yeah, you don't say, Not only that, but that implies they have already been to doctors, physicians, therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists. They have been to all kinds of self development work. They've read the books, they've watched the motivational videos, they might have been put on meds, and very often they will be told that they have this problem because of trauma, because of their story, because of their parents, because of the tragedy. Because and look, to a certain degree, yes, certainly. But and these same people that are out there looking for help and they try all these attempts, they literally go to therapy for decades only to find out it didn't help. And then, well, why don't we medicate these people? And then they're being convinced that, oh, it's because of your brain chemistry. It's because of your genetics. It's because, so again, reason after reason. Look, if that were true, okay, if that were true, that a person has anxiety or depression because of brain chemistry or genetics, then what we do here wouldn't work. But it does work. You know why? Because what I do with my clients is I help them understand what is the cause of this problem and how can we fix it as fast as humanly possible. That's what I stand for. And look, obviously, I'm not talking about a mechanical issue like I can't change somebody's height, okay? Obviously. But when it comes to these things like unwanted habits, procrastination, self sabotage, anxiety, depression, those are typically things that live within a human being in their beliefs, in their emotions, in their actions. And that is something we can change. So I promised you to tell you the real cause, okay, the real cause of anxiety and depression. Are you ready for it? Can you imagine what it might be? And this is the same block, if you want to call it that, that is causing so many people being afraid from putting themselves out there, being afraid to shine their light, being afraid to do the thing that they want to do, whether it's going for that job interview, whether it's speaking up in the boardroom, whether it's getting into that conversation that might actually become a confrontation. This is the thing that is unfortunately causing so many people to stay in really bad relationships because they keep making excuses. This is the thing that is stopping people from getting into wonderful, incredible, amazing, fulfilling relationships. This is the thing that is stopping people from living their potential, literally from being able to step into their greatness. This is the thing that is causing so many people to just tolerate mediocrity. And this is also the thing that will cause them to have this idea, oh, I will be okay when I make the money. I will be okay when I'm in the relationship. I'll feel okay when I lost the weight. I will be okay when I have the Gucci Moochie Poochie, like fill in the blank. And that is a trap. That is a trap. That's an illusion. That's a so I promised you. You want to know what it is? The real cause. The real cause is a deeply rooted belief, disempowering, limiting belief of I'm not good enough. That's it. That's it. And so think about it. If a person fundamentally believes at their core that they're not good enough, and they truly, fully, completely believe that, there is nothing that can fix it. There is no job title, there's no status, there is no weight, there is no person, there is no clothing, there is no stuff that will fix this. The only thing that will fix this is you. And by the way, when you fix this, you know what goes bye bye? The anxiety and the depression goes bye bye. The insecurities you feel about yourself, they go bye bye. The self doubt, bye bye. What grows is self confidence, self trust, an appreciation for yourself, a belief in yourself. And you know what else grows? Your courage. Being willing and wanting to put yourself out there unapologetically. You know what else grows? Your the audacity, okay, to walk down Main Street and not give a about what people think of you. And that's not being self-absorbed. I'm not talking from an ego perspective. I'm talking from you stop being a people pleaser. You stop the perfectionism. You stop doing the things that are not serving you just to please others and just to appease and just to make excuses for them. No, you start listening to you. No longer this, and this is what I call the subconscious program, which, by the way, you have been carrying this around since before the age of 7, and nobody tells you that. So, um, once you fix this block, guess what? You begin to live life on your terms, conditions, standards, definitions of success. And that's when life finally starts to get really good because you become selective. You begin to curate. What do you want? What don't you want? Who do you want to hang out with? Who do you not want to hang out with? You become so unapologetic with your decisions, with your intentions. You become obsessed about where and when and with whom and how you want to spend your time, energy, and attention. Those three things, okay, are the most precious resources you have as a human being. Now, I know money is a resource, but you can always make more money. You can replenish money. Once you give your energy, time, and attention to something or somebody, you will never, ever, ever get it back. So, why would you waste your time with people, places, situations, actions that are not worthy of you, that are not in your best interest, just to appease and please? My clients who get rid of this block, they stop doing that. They become conscious creators. A conscious creator means they understand what is the program in your subconscious that is running the show. And by the way, FYI, most people still have childhood programming running their adult life and then wonder why life doesn't work out for them because you're not in control. The program is in control of you. That's why. But remember, this is in your subconscious. How could you possibly fix what you don't understand? And you can't change if you haven't been taught how to change, right? And you certainly can't work the system if you don't even know that there is a system. The system is until we get the conscious and the subconscious in alignment with each other, then this is going to feel like an uphill battle. And this is then when people say to me, Oh my God, I have so much anxiety. I'm depressed. Well, you should be depressed. You should have anxiety because clearly, this is actually, look, your body is very intelligent. Your body is creating these symptoms of anxiety and depression. That means your body is trying to tell you something very important. And as your hypnotherapist, I'm very interested in hearing those symptoms. Tell me, what is that like for you when you have anxiety, when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and your mind starts racing and spinning and worrying and ruminating? And what is that like for you when you know that your potential is up here, but you spend your entire day ruminating about the past, worrying about the future? What if this? What if that? Catastrophizing everything. Oh, when is the other shoe going to drop? Knowing very well how expensive this is, because this is the thing that is preventing you from making the money you deserve to make. Like I said, putting yourself out there the way you going for that job interview, asking for the raise, going on that date, saying no to certain people that deserve to finally be like, and this is what causes so many people to tiptoe around life, tiptoe around certain people, tolerate crappy behavior because they feel not good enough. And by the way, just FYI, full confession here, that was me for so long. My self esteem was crap for a long, like the majority of my life. And it was not a good place to be until I finally got the help, until I finally was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize what that was costing me to be stuck in this loop of inferiority, constantly comparing myself to other people, constantly feeling, oh, I'm not as smart as, I'm not as bright as, I'm not as pretty as, I'm not as skinny as, I'm not as Gucci Moochie Poochie as. It's like, oh, it hurts me to like now looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, I wasted so much of my life in this comparison mode, in this I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. And even when people complimented me, this is you will see this with people, even people who genuinely complimented me, of course, what did I deflected it. Oh, you're just saying that because, oh, that little thing that's not. And that in itself, when you compliment somebody and immediately it's almost like they're apologizing, that that person literally inside is actually very insecure. And when you can't genuinely receive a compliment, that's cringe. And I remember being on the side of that, how I knew that I just wasn't able to receive a compliment. I kept making excuses, but that had all to do with this insecurity of I'm not good enough. And I promise you, once you get rid of this block, once you get rid of this limiting, disempowering, destructive belief, your life will start to change. You will start to change. Success will follow. Your income will follow. Beautiful relationships will follow. You will begin to attract people, things, situations, positions into your life. Doors will start to open because you are the one who's going to start to open those doors. The fear, the irrational fear will be gone. The self doubt, the insecurities will be gone. You will be leading with your heart and with your gut and with your head in the right place. This is about when people say they feel centered, grounded, self assured, self trust. This is what I'm talking about. And yes, of course, we get to blame. Of course, our childhood is to be blamed for a lot of these programs that we still carry often as adults because that's when we learned it and we started to believe it. And that's not to say it's good or bad, it is what it is. Most importantly, what I want to share with you is most importantly, we can fix this, we can change this. That's the best part. And you can change it naturally. And no, medication isn't going to fix this for you. And decades of therapy isn't going to fix this for you either. Because we cannot keep talking about the same problem over and over, talk about the past, talk about the story, yada, 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 expecting a different result. As Einstein said, you cannot create the solution from the same consciousness that created the problem. And until you make conscious what's in your unconscious, it will continue to control your life. And unfortunately for me, it, you know, it it was quite late when I learned these lessons, but I'm glad I did, because now, because of that, I can help so many people break through these really, really difficult issues that they often carry. So getting to the root cause is extremely liberating. You will finally understand what's really going on, instead of, numbing these thoughts and behaviors with medication, which again, there is no such thing as a magic pill. I promise you. The medication might help you alleviate the symptoms, and I'm all for that. And, talking to somebody in therapy might feel good for a while because at least you're heard and seen and understood. But has that solved the problem? No. And so, therefore, how about a different approach? How about actually doing something that will actually work? And the truth is, there's two ways this can go. And this is something I see with tons and tons and tons of people. There are people who actually, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, stay stuck. And the ones that stay stuck are the ones that continue complaining and blaming and venting and shaming and constantly repeating the same thing over, and it's because of this and it's because of that, and I can't do anything about it, and you don't understand what they did to me. If only my luck was different. Which, by the way, that is staying victim of your past. The other people are ready to become master of their reality and their future. And that means they're willing to take responsibility for themselves, for their life. That doesn't mean they blame themselves for the past. It doesn't mean they blame themselves for what happened. It means responsibility, the ability to respond, to say, hey, this is what happened. Some things I just can't change. It is what it is. But today, as an adult, I do have the ability to respond differently. And that's a different mindset. That takes ownership, that takes leadership, that takes courage, that takes a different level of commitment, because now we're shifting into, I want to find a solution. I want to change my life. I want to make it happen. I want to tap into my potential. I want to see what am I made out of? Because I promise you, I've never met a human being where this is not accurate. You were built for greatness. You were made for greatness. You are a walking, talking, breathing miracle. And your potential is, whoa, I have no words. And you have been programmed. And as an adult, you have a choice. You can either wallow in the misery and blame all these other things in the past, or my espresso maker for the noise, or you can begin to invest into yourself and do the work so that you can come out on the other side and finally begin to see and realize and discover, excuse my language, who you really are. And that is a choice every human being gets to make. Needless to say, I work with high achievers. I work with people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, who have people who are like, you know what, I'm done with that. I've tried all these techniques, didn't work. I've done all the I've watched the motivational videos. Literally, these people have invested. This is what breaks my heart. It's not like they didn't look for help. It's not like they paid a lot of money. It's just that they were given a process that is incomplete. And for that, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. So in closing, right, what I meant to say earlier is, when I say you are a walking, talking, breathing miracle, that means you absolutely have the power and the ability to overcome any of these blocks that are standing in your way. Once you remove the program that is no longer serving you, and my definition of program is the limiting, destructive, disempowering beliefs of I'm not good enough, the emotions that are often lingering, the emotions of fear, insecurity, self doubt, maybe even rage, anger. Because here's what I learned about depression. It's really interesting. Depression is not about sadness, it's also not about hopelessness. Depression is a baggage of shame, guilt, and rage, unexpressed. And once you give a person the opportunity to express and to actually be seen and heard and understood and help them understand how this depression got there in the first place, and that this depression is probably a very warranted depression, that person can finally start to change and pursue happiness and joy and relationships that are worthy of them and a career that's fulfilling, a purpose that gives them enthusiasm and excitement when they first wake up in the morning, which is what I want for everybody. I want for every human being to be able to wake up with a sense of enthusiasm, joy, something you can look forward to. And every human being has that potential, regardless of the conditions, regardless of the situation, regardless of what's going on. There's always something we can do. And I want to leave you with these two books, speaking of self development books, that for me personally, they really moved me. They really moved me to the core. And it's funny because when people ask me, what are your two favorite books on hypnotherapy? These are the books I will refer people to, which, by the way, these books are not about hypnotherapy at all. But hypnotherapy is technically, right, about helping somebody change. So the two books that I invite you to read so that maybe you too will be moved. And they're not easy reads, by the way, especially not the first one. The first one is A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. This is the doctor that went through Auschwitz and survived the concentration camp, and his story. I can't. Short book, small book, easy read, but hard emotionally. The other book that I love and adore is Tim Grover, Relentless. Tim Grover is the coach who coached, I believe, Michael Jordan for 15 years, Kobe Bryant, some other giants. And his book, Relentless, again, moved me, taught me a lot. And sometimes, reading other people's stories or learning about human psychology can sometimes be the trigger that might motivate you to also want to pursue this know thyself. And at the same time, getting rid of this whole am I good enough? Obviously, if you want more and you're ready for an upgrade, update, subconscious reprogramming, you know where to find me. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time.